This is our presentation for Management 328. Team members are Christine Evans, Vanessa Pena, and Spencer Powell. For our group project, we chose Chick-fil-A as the business we would open in a country it does not currently operate in. We chose Chick-fil-A for a number of reasons. One, because it's very successful and it is able to generate more annual revenue than any other restaurant, even while closed on Sunday. Chick-fil-A began in 1967. All of its restaurants are closed on Sundays to allow employees to spend time with family and friends and worship if they want to. They have developed a unique employee atmosphere, and their traditions, such as singing about how much they love the chain, happens frequently within their stores. They have a charity called Win Shape Foundation and an entire group of programs that are dedicated to marriage. In 1995, the campaign Eat More Chicken was created, and in 2004, it took a break due to a mad cow disease scare. The franchises are now starting to support gay rights. Previously, there was a bit of drama related to that, but they have gotten past that and they are supportive these days. And as we pointed out earlier, they are able to generate more annual revenue than any other restaurant, even while being closed on Sunday. Over the next 3 slides, we will do comparisons of the United States and Brazil. When you enter a new country, you should do your homework and have a thorough understanding of the formal institutions governing firm behavior. There are a lot of similarities between the US and Brazil. There are also many differences. One difference of importance is language. There are 6.18 million people in Brazil who speak English fluently. This is only 3% of the population of Brazil. The language spoken in Brazil is Portuguese. There are similarities between food choices of the two countries. One of key importance is chicken. Both countries share interest in sports, and there are several common holidays between the two countries. Of the common holidays, it's New Year's Day, Easter Sunday, and Good Friday. Next, we'll look at the economies of the United States and Brazil. Both countries have a mixed economy, which is part market and part command. In the United States, there's a focus on protecting private property, which allows a level of economic freedom in the use of capital. We also allow the government to intervene in economic activities in order to achieve social aims and for the public good. Now, Brazil also has a mixed economy, combination of both market and command. They have abundant natural resources, and they have a large and developed agricultural, mining, manufacturing, and service sector. They also have a large labor pool. Next, we'll look at the political system and legal issues between the United States and Brazil. Both countries have a democratic political system. In the United States, the government controls or partially controls many goods or services. Examples would be education, courts, roads, hospitals, postal delivery. They also provide subsidies to certain businesses like agricultural producers, oil companies, financial companies, and utility firms. Private businesses need to register with government agencies, and many types of professionals can only operate with government-approved licenses. The United States practices common law. In Brazil, you also have a democratic political system. Regulatory actions occur in order to aim for economic efficiency, ensuring the service at the lowest cost for the user. They prevent the abuse of monopoly power. Brazilian law provides restrictions for foreign companies' participation. The government works to protect the national economy through the reduction and limitation of products and services provided by foreign companies to the internal market. Now we'll consider if it's possible to expand Chick-fil-A to Brazil. After reviewing the data that we went over, we believe it is possible. When foreign fast food industries expand to Brazil, they will face a number of challenges, such as the massive number of poor people that will prefer not to eat out due to lack of money. They will need to be encouraged to eat at the restaurants by keeping prices low. There's also the battle of winning over customers from domestic restaurants. However, there's one advantage foreign fast food industries have. Brazilians do enjoy the ambience and dining experience that is brought to them. Our implications for action are going to be prepared, to slow down and look closely at the differences between the two economies, look closely at the differences in the laws between the two countries, and to establish trust. We need to understand the importance of their language and respect the cultural differences. We need to understand that no culture is inherently superior in all aspects. Looking at the commonalities between the two countries, I think religion will play a very important part. I think Brazil will be supportive of the decision by Chick-fil-A to have Sunday be a day that everyone can share with their families. That's an important goal of the company, and it's shared by many Brazilians. Next, we will review our entry plan. To start with, we ask some important questions. Will the product sell in Brazil? Is Brazil familiar with Chick-fil-A or national chicken franchises? Do we feel comfortable in Brazil? And what is the infrastructure like? The entry plan would work by first answering these questions for a global market. We believe the product can and will sell in Brazil. This is not, of course, without some variation to the product mix. To keep Chick-fil-A's unique qualities, we would still focus on the chicken as the heart of the product. This also means cooking it in peanut oil, its selling point that improves the quality of the chicken and makes CFA unique. We will discuss this further, but enhancing the product mix with Brazil's style, chicken, and emphasis on more fruit could cater to the market much better. We would offer a bit of localization in order to appeal to Brazil. To find out if Brazil is familiar with CFA or other competitors, we would first poll participants through paid ads or online polling to determine whether they are familiar with chicken franchises and their opinion of them. We must ask ourselves and decide as a team if we feel in Brazil, while considering their political, social, and cultural climate, how is the crime in Brazil? What about security? What levels of peace are expected for entrepreneurs in the area? Lastly, we must do advanced research on what the infrastructure is like in Brazil. This could mean something intangible, like its government restrictions, or rules on opening up foreign franchise chains, or something tangible, even like its roads and traffic, which could affect our supply chain. Next, we continue to look at our entry plan. After asking questions, the three main steps have been condensed down. We'll look at finance, developing a structure, and acquiring licenses. Now that we've asked our most vital questions concerning how we would go about opening up a new franchise location, we can look at the concrete features of how we would begin to open up a new restaurant. First, we would need to finance the development and opening of a new structure. Perhaps the initial loan we take out to open up the new chain could also be used to fund the new brick and mortar building. We would have to look at construction companies offering concrete and building structures and compare based on price and quality. The second step is to build the building itself. We also may want to consider a cheaper option, which would be to rent a space or to use a space that is already in use. Purchasing, for example, an old restaurant that is maybe going out of business, as opposed to building a new building. That may be ideal for moving in initially. Lastly, we would need to acquire licensing to become a franchise holder and distribute the slogan, logo, and other associated trademarks and copyrights. Next, we look at when the entry plan would occur. Basically, the entry plan will occur as soon as we've acquired the franchise fee, started some basic advertisement, and have a 2 to 3 month solid plan for upkeep. The good news with Chick-fil-A is it's relatively easy to open a new restaurant. In a Chick-fil-A franchise, you only pay $10,000 to open a new restaurant. Chick-fil-A pays for all of the startup costs, including real estate, restaurant construction, and equipment. You lease everything from the franchise for an ongoing fee equal to 15% of sales plus 50% of pre-tax profit remaining. That's a hefty amount of profit going to Chick-fil-A. The company prohibits most of its franchisees from opening multiple restaurants, which limits franchisee potential profits. It also limits competition between Chick-fil-A stores. Chick-fil-A gets more than 20,000 inquiries from franchisee candidates every year. And from those candidates, Chick-fil-A only selects 75 to 80 new franchisees annually. That means one of the largest things that we'd have to do is sell Chick-fil-A on the viability of owning a franchise in Brazil. Next, we look at where the entry plan would take place. After looking at many cities in Brazil, we chose the city of Sao Paulo. We chose it for 3 reasons. 1, international business. 2, economic growth. And 3, tourism. It's easier to open a business in Sao Paulo than it is in other places in Brazil. And that is why we chose it as the location for the franchise. Second, Sao Paulo has sustained annual economic growth of 4.2%. And lastly, but probably of most importance, is the large tourism industry in Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo is actually being compared to New York City. If there's a large tourist base in Sao Paulo, there's a strong likelihood that Chick-fil-A would attract tourists who are familiar with that type of chain and that it would be successful in that environment. Next, we look at what adjustments may need to be made to Chick-fil-A in order to be successful in Brazil. The first adjustment that would need to be made would be price. While Brazilians do enjoy the ambience and dining experience, they are of lower income and may need some options on the menu of lower price. We also would need to consider foreign exchange. As of now, $1 equates to 3.77 BRZs. The second thing we need to adjust is ingredients. Selling an Americanized chicken sandwich, bread, chicken, and pickles does not provide enough cultural mixture normal for Brazil. As you can see, a typical Brazilian meal has a lot more variety. It would take some market development and research to find a balance between what would cater to the Brazilian audience as well as what would keep the Chick-fil-A brand secure in its food and menu items. Lastly, a few marketing campaigns would need to be implemented. For example, commercials with an emphasis on soccer or other Brazilian favorites. Because Brazil, and specifically Sao Paulo, are huge on gay rights, Chick-fil-A would need to change or perhaps emphasize its willingness to serve everyone. This could be done through a marketing campaign or through a public statement. Lastly, Chick-fil-A would also need to translate all the names of its items on the menu ingredients and develop a social media campaign.